gets all the way. RKO!
Controversy is nothing new in the world of professional wrestling, but being banned by WWE, that's a whole different story. WWE has been home to some of the biggest names in wrestling history.
Facing, say, John Cena. Yes! Fire!
But even the brightest stars can fall from grace. Hard. While suspensions and firings are fairly routine, an outright ban is far more serious. It means someone crossed a line so severely that WWE wants nothing more to do with them. Ever. In this video, we're diving deep into the stories of wrestlers who were banned from WWE, from the controversies that sparked their exile to the unexpected, and twists that followed.
Monster push.
Ryback. From the big guy to big trouble. There was a time when Ryback seemed like the next Goldberg. Exploding onto the scene in the early 2010s, he dominated with unmatched intensity. WWE even considered making him world champion at Hell in a Cell 2012, but then things went south. According to Ryback, the problem was Vince McMahon himself. He claimed Vince made and broke promise after promise, yanking major pushes at the last minute. By 2016, Ryback's departure had turned into a full-on meltdown over contract disputes. He publicly slammed WWE's pay structure, calling it unfair and exploitative. But what began as a fight for change quickly devolved into a scorched earth campaign. Ryback launched blistering attacks on social media, targeting everyone from John Cena to Triple H. The tipping point came when he insulted Vince McMahon and made a vile comment about Vince's late mother. At that point, he wasn't just burning bridges, he was torching the whole WWE village. Ryback has since insisted that WWE misused him and sabotaged his momentum. Despite being massively over with fans, he only held the Intercontinental Championship and never cracked the main event tier. These days, Ryback is essentially blacklisted. WWE wants nothing to do with him. He's tried to stay relevant via podcasting and social media, but his wrestling career has fizzled. Speaking out in wrestling can cost you. Just ask Ryback. Sable, WWE's original diva. Erased Sable was once the face of the WWE's women's division, a breakout star of the Attitude Era whose fame rivaled some of the top male wrestlers. Debuting. In 1996, alongside real-life husband Mark Marrow, she soon eclipsed him in popularity. By the late 90s, she was headlining segments, gracing Playboy covers, and getting some of the loudest crowd reactions on the card. But behind the glamour, the situation was far from perfect. In 1999, Sable abruptly left WWE and filed a $110 million lawsuit against the company. She cited sexual harassment and unsafe working conditions, accusations that rocked WWE to its core. The case was eventually settled out of court, but the damage was done. Shockingly, WWE brought her back in 2003 during the Ruthless Aggression era. She had a brief feud with Tori Wilson and even aligned on screen with Vince McMahon. But just a year later, she quietly exited again, this time for good. Today, Sable is virtually erased from WWE's legacy. She's never been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and when Tori Wilson was honored in 2019, she was reportedly forbidden from even mentioning Sable's name in her speech, despite their storyline history and real-life friendship. So, what happened? Sable hasn't spoken publicly in years, but many believe her continued absence has something to do with her marriage to Brock Lesnar. Lesnar is famously private and allegedly prefers to keep both himself and Sable far removed from WWE's spotlight. Combine that with Vince McMahon's infamous grudges, and it's no surprise Sable has disappeared from the company's narrative. She now lives a quiet life in rural Canada, far from the ring, far from the cameras, and far from WWE. Alberto Del Rio, from Golden Boy to Persona. Non grata Alberto Del Rio had all the makings of a megastar: aristocratic charisma, real MMA credentials, and a family legacy rooted in lucha libre. In 1 year, he won the Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, and the WWE Championship, a rare trifecta that screamed main event potential. But none of that could save him from himself. Del Rio's first release in 2014 followed a backstage incident where he allegedly slapped a WWE employee for making a racist remark. Many fans applauded him at the time for standing up to discrimination, but that incident marked the beginning of a long, messy downward spiral. From legal troubles to domestic abuse allegations, many of which garnered media attention, Del Rio's reputation took hit after hit. WWE did bring him back briefly in 2015, but by 2016 he was gone again. This time, for good. Today, Del Rio is effectively blacklisted from WWE, with the company keeping its distance due to his off-screen controversies and the risk of negative publicity. Once seen as a surefire Hall of Famer, he's now a cautionary tale of what happens when talent is overshadowed by turmoil. These are just a few of the shocking stories of stars who were banned, not just fired, from WWE. Some burned bridges beyond repair. Others stood up for themselves and paid the price. But they all serve as a reminder that in the world of wrestling, fame is fleeting, and controversy can cost you everything. Alberto Del Rio, a fall from grace. After his initial WWE exit in 2014 for standing up against racism, reportedly slapping a staff member over a racist comment, Del Rio briefly returned to the company in 2015. But his second run was plagued by uninspired booking and behind-the-scenes tension. What really shifted public perception, though, was his volatile relationship with fellow WWE star Paige. What began as a passionate romance soon spiraled into a public train wreck. Their relationship was marred by accusations of emotional abuse, controlling behavior, and multiple incidents of domestic conflict. Videos of the couple in heated public arguments surfaced online, and Paige's own family voiced concern for her safety. At one point, Paige even alleged that Del Rio had physically abused her, an accusation she later retracted. Still, the damage was done. His reputation took a major hit, and his once bright future in wrestling dimmed significantly. After his final WWE release, Del Rio bounced around the independent scene and Impact Wrestling, where his behavior continued to raise red flags. He clashed with promoters, missed scheduled events, and was ultimately released, despite holding Impact's world title at the time. Then came his most serious legal crisis. In 2020, Del Rio was arrested and charged with sexual assault and kidnapping, after allegedly attacking and restraining a woman for hours. Although the charges were dropped in 2021 due to lack of evidence, the fallout was swift and brutal. Promotions dropped him immediately. Sponsors vanished. Even in Mexico, where he was once considered a national hero, support eroded after several ugly incidents, including physical altercations with fans at AAA events. In March 2025, Del Rio was suspended for 6 months by local athletic commissions following yet another outburst. Today, only Conan, a longtime friend, still books him occasionally, but even that support has cost Conan credibility with fans. Del Rio's in-ring talent opened countless doors. His out-of-ring behavior slammed every single one of them shut. Enzo Amore. The mic master who couldn't shut up, Enzo. Amore had a gift. The guy could talk. During his run in NXT and WWE, there were few who could match his charisma on the mic. Teamed with Big Cass, Enzo helped breathe new life into WWE's tag team division. Their entrance promos were electric. Their connection with fans, unmatched. But the same loudmouth persona that made Enzo a star also made him a liability backstage. Behind the scenes, Amore developed a reputation for being obnoxious and unprofessional. Reports surfaced of him ignoring locker room etiquette, making inappropriate jokes, and constantly disrespecting unwritten rules. His behavior irritated many in the locker room. It got so bad that Roman Reigns, then the undisputed locker room leader, reportedly kicked Enzo off the talent bus during a European tour. No one stood up for him. That was the writing on the wall. But what truly sealed his fate wasn't backstage. Heat. It was a serious legal accusation. In early 2018, Enzo was accused of sexual assault. WWE reportedly wasn't informed of the allegations until they became public, just hours before the live Raw 25 broadcast. The company reacted immediately, suspending and then firing him, citing his failure to notify management of a pending investigation. Eventually, the Phoenix Police Department dropped the case due to lack of evidence, and Enzo was never charged. But by then, the damage to his WWE career was irreversible. Trust was broken, and the company had already moved on. Enzo has since dabbled in music and made appearances on the indie circuit, but he remains a divisive figure. Loved by some for his charisma, hated by others for his attitude, Enzo Amore's WWE journey serves as a cautionary tale. Talent might get you in the door, but conduct decides whether you stay. Enzo Amore, banned by his own behavior, WWE officially suspended Enzo Amore after learning, through the media, that he was under police investigation for sexual assault. Enzo's failure to inform the company of the ongoing investigation led to his immediate release the very next day. Though the case was eventually dropped due to insufficient evidence, the damage to his WWE career was already done. Instead of laying low, Enzo leaned into the controversy. Later that year, he attempted to hijack the Survivor Series event by disguising himself and cutting a rogue promo from the crowd. Security swiftly removed him, and WWE responded by banning him from attending any future Raw or SmackDown events. As a fan. Since then, Enzo has continued to perform on the independent circuit under the name Real One, and has explored a side career in rap music. He's teased reunions with Big Cass, now wrestling as W. Morrissey in AEW, but a return to WWE is firmly off the table. For Enzo, the biggest opponent wasn't another wrestler, it was himself, and in WWE, that battle ended in permanent defeat. Sunny, the original diva's devastating descent. If any story embodies the tragic fall from grace, it's that of Tammy Lynn Sitch, better known as Sunny. In the mid-1990s, Sunny wasn't just a valet, she was a cultural phenomenon. Dubbed WWE's original diva, she was the most downloaded woman on AOL, a mainstream face of the Attitude Era, and a pioneer for women in wrestling. But behind the camera, Sunny's personal life was spiraling. After her departure from WWE in 1998, her legal troubles quickly piled up. DUIs, burglary, domestic violence, fleeing accident scenes, and repeated parole violations. Despite her spiraling issues, WWE inducted her into the Hall of Fame in 2011, a move that was controversial even then and has aged poorly. Then came the breaking point. In March 2022, Sunny caused a fatal car accident in Volusia County, Florida. Driving under the influence, her blood alcohol level nearly 3.5 times the legal limit, she crashed into a 75-year-old man's vehicle, killing him instantly. At the time, she was already on probation for prior DUI charges. Her bail was revoked. She was deemed a danger to public safety. In November 2023, Sunny was sentenced to 17 years in prison for DUI manslaughter, with an additional 8 years of probation after her release. It marked the final chapter of a long, painful downfall. Not just from stardom, but from basic accountability. Fans had held out hope for her redemption for years, clinging to the idea that she might turn her life around. But Sunny didn't just burn bridges, she demolished them. Today, WWE won't mention her name, and her Hall of Fame legacy is irreparably stained. Once a symbol of wrestling's golden era, Tammy Sytch is now a cautionary tale of what happens when second chances run out. Velveteen Dream, from future star to wrestling. Pariah. Few WWE superstars have fallen from grace as rapidly and spectacularly as Velveteen Dream. Patrick Clark Jr., known by his flamboyant ring name, was hailed as the next breakout icon. With undeniable charisma, a Prince-inspired persona, and the full support of wrestling legends like John Cena, Dream seemed destined for greatness. By 2019, he was on top of NXT, holding the North American Championship and stealing the show every time he stepped into the ring. But by 2021, he was gone, and not due to injury or creative stagnation. The downfall began with explosive online allegations accusing Clark of inappropriate conduct with minors. Screenshots and testimonies alleged that he had sent explicit messages and engaged in grooming behavior. WWE claimed to have investigated the matter and found no evidence, but Dream was quietly pulled from television and officially released in May 2021. Even though Clark denied the accusations, the damage was irreversible. Public opinion turned sharply. Against him, sponsors walked away, and the wrestling world moved on without him. Worse still, his post-WWE life spiraled further. He was arrested multiple times, once for battery and trespassing, and later for a probation violation in 2022. Any sliver of hope for a return to mainstream wrestling quickly disappeared. Promotions wanted nothing to do with him. He was blacklisted across the industry. But in early 2024, Clark resurfaced in an interview with Chris Van Vliet. For the first time, he addressed the allegations, apologized publicly, and claimed that his WWE exit was rooted in backstage politics rather than scandal. He insisted he was misunderstood and hinted at wanting to rebuild his career. He even made a surprise return to wrestling on the independent scene. But the comeback was quiet, lacking fanfare or mainstream support. The aura that once made Velveteen Dream feel like the future was gone, replaced by an air of controversy and distrust. In the end, Clark's fall wasn't just a personal one. It was professional exile. A wrestler who had it all lost everything, and there's no clear path back. Maryland Championship Wrestling in February 2024, though he's wrestled multiple matches since, the wrestling world remains divided. Some fans demand accountability, while others are cautiously watching his next steps. Despite being just 28 years, old Patrick Clark's name has gone from headliner to cautionary tale. Velveteen Dream's fall from grace remains one of the most dramatic and unsettling stories in recent WWE history. Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard should have been a once-in-a-generation success story. With her family legacy as the daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Tully Blanchard and Hurley in-ring talent, she looked poised to lead women's wrestling into a new era. She shattered ceilings in 2020 by becoming the first woman to win the Impact World Championship, a historic feat in a male-dominated division. But just as quickly as she rose, she fell hard right before her biggest career moment. Allegations surfaced from fellow wrestlers accusing Tessa of racist behavior and backstage bullying. One accusation claimed she spat on a black wrestler and called her the N-word during a tour in Japan, something Blanchard strongly denied. Still, the floodgates opened with numerous female wrestlers backing the story and sharing their own experiences of unprofessional conduct from her. What should have been a triumphant crowning moment turned into a PR disaster. Her time in Impact Wrestling ended not long after Tessa was stripped of the title and fired while still champion, largely due to reported issues with communication and refusing to send in promos during the COVID-19 pandemic after that WWE and AEW both passed on signing her despite her undeniable star power. Even her short stint with Women of Wrestling ended on a sour note due to backstage tensions and more reported behavior issues with every major North American promotion distancing themselves. Blanchard eventually found work in Mexico with CMLL, where she quietly began rebuilding her image, while fans and promoters remained skeptical. Her undeniable in-ring ability kept her booked, just not in the spotlight she once owned. Then came the surprising twist TNA Wrestling brought her back in 2024. The move was met with immediate backlash online, with fans criticizing the company for ignoring her past controversies. Yet TNA seems committed to giving her a second chance, even integrating her into high-profile storylines through their working relationship with WWE. Still, the stigma hasn't faded. Despite her attempts at a comeback, Tessa Blanchard remains a polarizing figure, since her actions have not been forgotten to this day. Austin Aries is too talented to be this toxic. Talking about bad behavior, Austin Aries is surely one great example of wrestlers who have let their own reputation sabotage their career. On paper, he's the kind of talent companies dream of. A multiple-time world champion in ROH and TNA, known for his in-ring work, solid promo skills, and undeniable presence. But behind the scenes, Aries has become infamous not for what he's done inside the ring,